Hello, everybody. Welcome to Office Hours number 3 for the summer 2025 semester. Today, Sam is, still in Korea. And so we're going to be having more interviews this week and next week, and maybe we'll do a Q&A stream. Who knows? But today, we have the one, the only, the producer of the Social 19 live stream, the one who makes it happen in the back room, the one who I get to call and we get to stress together about trying to figure out why OBS isn't working or why the network is disconnected or why one of about a trillion other things could possibly be going wrong. My right hand person, Darnisha.
Hey.
Yes, boom. Drum roll. Oh, that's a joke thing. Okay, never mind. Welcome,
Wow,
Niesh.
we're more than everything.
So you were the right hand man. You and Jeff are constantly trying to solve problems during the WinC during the Social 19 live stream. Um, Feel free just to take a second to introduce yourself and you know who you
Yeah,
are, your role.
I'm Darnisha. Jeff actually trained me. I'm the in-house producer to Jeff's behind the scenes virtual, like I'm gonna edit and like help Niche make sure she doesn't scream and die and cry because something's not going right. Um, and I also work for a World in Conversation too, doing a bunch of numbers stuff.
And also, Jeff, feel free because like I feel like there's so much about Nisha's role. Like if there's things that I'm missing or that could be more detailed that I don't really know what to ask, I feel like that'd be helpful. But when you say, can you go a little deeper into your role, or maybe speak on how your role has evolved at Social 19?
Yeah, for sure. So starting off with, I took Social 19 when I was a freshman in undergrad. Like my very first semester, I took Social 19, and then I saw Jeff and the other students in the room with the cameras, and I went, "What's that? Can I join your team, please?" Because I was a film major when I was in school, and I was like, I love cameras and everything having to do with them. So the very next semester, I was already on stream team, like learning
So
how to
this
work
is
with
when you were in the
cameras.
Social 19 class.
Exactly. So my role started back when I was in the class.
And you saw like what was happening. You were like, "Ooh, what is this?"
Yeah, I was like, I've never seen a class be, like, recorded and live streamed this way, so, like, how can I do something with this? Like, how can I get involved?
Well, do you remember like I don't know if you would remember this, like the cl type of class that was being that Sam was teaching that day, or if there was anything like where did your attention go first when you were seeing like, oh wow, this is so cool. If
I
that makes sense.
think no, it makes sense. I think when I first noticed the cameras in the room was, like, very first day, but I didn't realize that it was, like, a class until later, and I don't remember exactly
Hmm,
what point in the semester I realized it was a class.
really?
Yeah. So I
You
saw it and
didn't
I was like,
take
"Oh
it?
my gosh, that looks so cool." And then later on the semester when they were like, "Yeah, we need more people to join stream team," I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can actually, like, take this class and actually be a part of it."
What?
Wow. Okay.
Why did
Oh,
you
go ahead, Jeff.
why did you join Social 19? Like, what was that process? What was your year like? Take us to when you were a student sitting in 100 Thomas, part of the
Yeah.
classroom.
Yep.
Why did I take 119? I think I was one of the last kids in my like, in NSO that summer to be able to register for classes, and there was, like, 1 or 2 seats left in the class, and my advisor was like, "Hey, this is a really cool class. Every student I send to it says that they love it. So why don't you take it? Because the other option is what, etymology? Is that 101, the study of bugs?" And I was like, "No, I'm not gonna study bugs." So when I saw that it was race and ethnic relations, my first thought was like, "Oh, yeah, Black people, white people, like, relations between the 2." And then I got into class and realized like, I knew that there were other people and other groups, But being in that classroom actually helped me to, like, see it more clearly and to just not have my, like, one-sided perspective on just everything going on around me. If the way I
Mm,
said that makes sense.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, you felt like you were putting more pieces together. Like the class helped you put
Yeah,
a bunch of pieces
exactly.
together rather than just your original perspective. And you're saying what the reason that you joined the class, you were like, oh, that kind of sounds interesting. Or I'm putting words in your mouth a little bit, but it sounded like when you're
No,
like,
no, no,
oh,
that's exactly
like,
what it was.
yeah.
That was exactly what it
Mhm,
was, is that I was like, "Oh, this sounds interesting," and, like, I grew up in Philly, I went to predominantly Black schools. I
mhm.
was like, I would love to just, like, gain more perspective outside of, like, what I know.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So you once you and I want to get into that too,
Mhm.
just like your high school, where you went, like who you were in high school, what you were interested in, like what kind of brought you, what are your origins of like that eventually led you, to Social
Yeah,
19 and
origin
World in
story.
Conversation. But we can like get into so yeah, you're like, "Oh, I like this. Oh my gosh, I just found out that I could even be a part of this. I'm a film major. This works out." Boom. Okay. You're hired. What's your what's next? What happens next?
Well, I was on stream team just as a student for a good couple semesters, I think, like, 3 or 4 semesters, and then we sometimes stream team would do stuff off campus for, like, I don't know, just, like, random events that people would ask Sam about,
So,
and
real
we were
quick, you
coming
said
back
you were
from
on
one.
stream. You were on stream team
Yeah, I
for
was on
four
stream team to
semesters.
start as a student
And what
for
did
a
you do
while.
for those first four semesters? Just for the
So
audience,
I
because
was
when they
on
hear stream team, yeah.
Yeah, so stream team is made up of the students who run the cameras, the students behind the scenes who direct and actually, like, choose what camera angle goes on the stream. There are people who edit behind the scenes, like, putting together, like, the reflection videos. Um,
Mhm, mhm.
there's always a photographer, but I was only really
Nice.
trained in at that point, I was only trained in cameras and directing and, like, getting into editing because it's never been my favorite thing to do. I hate editing.
You
Um,
like being the
but
eye.
Yeah, exactly. So I
Okay.
was trained in camera operating and directing at that point. And we were coming back from one of those, like, off-campus events with Sam, and I was joking, like, "If I do this for any longer, you're gonna have to pay me, 'cause I just been, like, taking this class over and over again." And he was like, "Well, why don't you? Or why don't we?" And that's when I
Yeah.
actually started, like, getting paid for doing this stuff. I actually started training other students and, like, being, like, Jeff's assistant in a way.
So you said that while you were currently still a credit, uh, like you were taking the class for credit just as like an independent study or something? And then eventually you're like, Sam, I'm taking this over and over again. Eventually you gotta pay me if I keep doing this.
Yeah, but, like, more joking, more funny,
No, no,
I'm a
no,
very
yeah.
funny person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I was just saying, no, yeah, I did not say it how you said it, but yours was way more funny. Like how you, I'm just saying, like, before, like, you were taking this class multiple times as like
Yeah,
a credit earner.
exactly.
Got
So if
it.
I
Okay.
look back at
Okay.
my transcript now, there's gonna be, like, at least 12 credits, so, like, Soc 300 on on my credit transcript.
Got it. Okay. And then so at that point, you were already seasoned in your role over those four semesters.
Yeah.
Or were you
So
still
I
like
was
through those four semesters doing a bunch of different things, or you were always just focused on the directing aspect of it?
I was doing camera operating, directing, I was helping with setup and tear down. Um, Basically, like, if Jeff needed an extra set of hands, I would be there. I would be just in his office hanging around, which that's where I got my first taste of World in Conversation too, because Jeff's office was in con, so I would just hang around there all the time and just,
Mhm.
like, not wanna go to my other classes, and eventually I was like, "Alright, cool. This is a place where I can hang around," but I was basically, like, wherever I was needed, that's where I would go.
Yeah. What was your first, so like you were really gravitated, like the pull you really felt from World in Conversation when you started to visit, it sounds like a little bit when you would visit Jeff and work with him.
Yeah, and I think Because I first started hanging around Pond like that first semester when I was like, "Hey, I figured out like this is a class I could take." And I went and actually like talked to Jeff in his office at one point. And
Yeah,
Sam actually was like, "Hey, maybe you should be a facilitator." And I did a dip in a pond at that point, but no, they were like,
yeah.
"No, actually, we don't want you. We don't want you as a facilitator."
They're like, we want you as that director's eye.
Exactly. They're like, "We think you'll do better helping Social 119."
That's funny. Okay, and so then, but like when you were at Wink, you were like, "Whoa, I love this place." What was like, what were you kind of getting from Whirling Conversation when you were stepping in for the first time? You know, like why were
I
you so
think the
attracted
first
to it?
I can't remember the exact first time. I can remember like one of the like most vivid memories I have of just hanging around. It was
Hmm.
like right before a set of dialogues was about to start. And he and somebody else, and I don't remember who it was, but they were like in a heated conversation about something political.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's getting heated, but like people aren't getting angry.
Hmm.
Like people like, they're arguing back and forth, but they're not getting mad at each other. Like they're still having like a full on conversation. And I
Right.
think that's when I was like, what exactly is this place? Like what's happening
Hmm.
here? Because I do like this energy.
And so you're saying that you were used to seeing like di people that were having conversations with these types of topics, they weren't able to be, you were noticing like anger in conversations usually like that, or maybe
Yeah.
like things that aren't it's not controlled, but no, here you were noticing like, oh, there's a sense of um, it's civil. There's a civil
Yeah.
um
Because
got it.
we're like in Philly, like the conversations I had about politics, you either were like agreeing, like, yes, exactly, that's exactly what I think, or like, I think this because, and people were like, yeah, I totally get that. Or you were straight up arguing with somebody. Like, I
Got
can't
it.
even see your point of view. So I came into that room that day watching them like argue, like not even argue because it was just a conversation. Like it was more of a debate than a conversation. And I was like,
Mhm.
this is a different type of feeling that I'm getting. And it's
Yeah.
not a bad one. So like what's happening here? Like why did Sam want me to join this space?
Uh, and did you figure that answer out? Like when you're like, why
I
did
don't
Sam want
think
me
I
to
ever I don't think even to this day, I don't think I ever like fully understood what Sam was like seeing in me when he was like, "Yeah, you should be a facilitator."
Mhm.
But I do appreciate the fact that he was like, "Hey, maybe you should hang around here."
It's so funny because like I think just this is just me giving it some I feel I'm like, wait, I'm not a full facilitator right now. Like I can actually speak, because I was like about to insert myself. I'm like, wait.
Yeah, yeah.
Um and because I see that, just like the way that you work with students throughout the semester, and how you've been there for debriefs and I can definitely see like what Sam is seeing, especially, these past 2 semesters for sure. I wonder if you noticed that in yourself, because this has actually been mentioned a lot, even in the staff meeting at the end of the year, just like on even DJ and others talking about how you're relating with the students. Even Brenton talking about how like when they would mention you and is does that just a little bit of data right there start to what does that do for you like when you hear that and think about how it relates to your
Honestly,
some yeah, yeah, go
it's
ahead.
still surprising to me because I'm
Yeah.
someone who does not like to talk to other people. Like, I'll
Hmm.
end my day after being around all of the facilitators, all the yappers, all the students that just love to come into my office and talk, and I just go
Hmm.
into my bedroom and I just sit in silence until the next day or, like, I have to call somebody because like, talking with other people is exhausting.
Hmm.
So, the fact that they're like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, like, she was so helpful," like, my mindset when I'm in these debriefs with the students, if it's not you or Pedro or one of the observer students,
Right.
is how would I have continued this conversation? And, like, how would I have thought this conversation could have been more productive? And it's not even like, "Oh, like, well, this is your guys's facilitator moves, quote, unquote," or
Yep.
this is like, because 'cause I've never been trained as a facilitator.
Hmm.
It's always just like, oh, had I been in this conversation, I would have asked this because I would want to know this question. Or like, oh, this person had this type of like body language they're telling me. So like maybe they felt a type of way about the way that you said that. How could you have phrased that different? And
Right.
it's not even like a sense of like, oh, we want people to be able to see the other sides because I mean that is always an inherent thought. But for
Hmm.
me it's more just I how do I
Yep.
continue a conversation? And how can I convey this when I did not watch this dialogue happen?
Yeah, yeah. I think you're like shedding light on how we're all like empirical, like we're all researchers at some level, in life.
Yeah,
Like in the
yeah.
social world. Go ahead, yeah. With
No, I was just saying, like, it is and I was telling I forget who I was telling this, but even, like, the facilitators participating in the dialogues themselves, like, they're conducting research.
the participants.
No, the facilitators themselves, like, they're conducting research. Like,
Yeah,
everyone that goes into this building is a part of research in one way or another.
right. Yo, my gosh, 1000%. For sure. Like that practicum, and it's, for you to like stress that, or like who you were telling that to, and like to stress that to students, it's like so important for them to see the practicum in that way. And just like going back to how you were, um, you know, you used all of your experiences, of like, how do I approach dialogue? What have I, and that just brings up the point of how like the methodology is kind of weaved into the culture of world and conversation. And, it's like you don't necessarily have to be a trainer or someone trained in in dialogue to get the effects of the methodology because it's literally in all parts of the culture, like the way that we have team meetings, the way that we talk to each other, um the type of questions that we ask to stay in tune with one another.
Yeah, for
um
sure.
it makes so much sense as you're like, actually, I have some expertise to give here.
I mean, I don't know
And
if it's
but you don't see it
necessarily
like that.
expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't necessarily see it as expertise. If I were to say anyone could give expertise, it'd be you or Pedro or Julie or even like if we were to go to the student staff, like any one of them would be able to give more like expertise level advice. I just
Yeah.
give advice.
I guess, and then okay, because in my head I'm still thinking expertise, but I think what we're saying differently is like trained material or like
Yeah, that's
documented
exactly what I mean.
material.
Yeah, like the
Right.
expertise part of it, I think it more comes with the actual facilitator training. And then my advice is just, hey, I'm just a person walking in off this, like I have that perspective. I'm just here,
Right.
man. How did your conversation go? What could we have
Right.
like asked different?
You're just here and low key, everything you've absorbed. Kind of like the 269 dialogues. Do you know how we noticed some of them?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
the ones that were in World in Conversation after 269 kind of absorbed these skills without even being taught to them. It
Exactly.
just, they just showed up because they were absorbing it for 16 weeks.
Yeah, it became like inherent to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
learning through
that's
osmosis or something.
like what?
It's like learning through osmosis or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a science guy, so can you explain osmosis if you know? Because
Um,
you
I'm
said
not
that
a
and I had
science
no idea.
girl, but from what I remember,
Thank
osmosis
you.
is like okay, wait. Okay, osmosis is
No,
like
you got it. Give me
the
because I don't know anything.
no, I'm like firing on all cylinders. What is
Yeah,
what is
yeah, yeah.
um
Already?
okay, wait, because this was years ago.
And
Osmosis
maybe
is like
Jeff,
the
Jeff, do you know
chemical
osmosis? Okay, Jeff doesn't know
I
osmosis either.
know of Osmosis Jones.
and that's what's in my brain, and I can't get to the actual definition of this word.
Wait, let's look up Osmosis. Quick side. And Osmosis, I don't know who you just added more because I have no idea who Osmosis Jones is.
You've never heard of
What?
Osmosis Jones?
No.
Oh my God, you
Oh my
uncultured.
God.
Wait, the two of you know who Osmosis Jones is?
Of course,
Yes,
we had childhoods.
Oh, wait.
exactly.
Ooh, we had childhoods. I was underground somewhere. Well, this is so I actually remember this. This is like was he like microscopic?
Yep.
Yeah, he was in like the whole movie took place inside of some man's body when he got sick.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. I actually do remember this now. I just didn't know it was a movie or
Yeah.
Osmosis Jones.
Yeah,
Wow.
I watched
Okay.
it when I was in high school.
I think it's on HBO.
Wow. 2001. Yeah, I was 5 years old. Wow. So we've
Wow.
seen it after it kind of stuck around for a little bit.
It did.
Yeah, guys, for those listening, Osmosis Jones is I don't remember any
It's
of it barely,
classic.
but it's
You
great.
should definitely watch it, and you should definitely make fun of Elijah for not knowing what Osmosis Jones
Yeah,
was.
just think about me for just how he didn't know, how I didn't know.
Oh,
Okay,
Ian
I'm
in the
looking.
chat says the process of absorbing nutrients through the cell skin.
Got it. Oh, yes, definitely osmosis. I see. I love it. Okay. It adds
For
up for
sure.
me now.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotta
Because
love
I
the tangent.
exactly. Yeah, so then right, okay, so you started, you were at World in Conversation, you were like, I love this. Um and then you eventually were there for 4 semesters, you got paid. Did your role evolve from like the time that, you just started getting paid to where you are now? Or has it been like consistent and you've just been mastering? And like there's evolution in that, but would you there was distinct differences in your role through each semester, or do you just think it was a constant build? Um,
I think, well, it was partially like a constant build. And then there was also the factor of like, because I was able to take on a little bit more responsibility too. Of like,
mhm,
Jeff needed help with editing stuff and like getting videos together. So I would help him with that. Um,
mhm,
Coming in beforehand and staying after, like making sure I had time in my schedule to help with setup and tear down. Um,
right.
like if
Well,
Sam needed help during class for whatever reason, like I could go run out and do something because we had enough hands.
yeah. What were some of the toughest parts about the job that we wouldn't know about as like, just people that are watching, you guys just do your thing and make it work. But what's the most annoying
Yeah.
thing, day-to-day person would, that we don't know about?
Well, in the beginning, because our technology has obviously like gotten better over the years.
Hmm.
Um, I'm reading the chat. Sorry. Um, it used to be just the fact that we had so many wires for everything. And that was the reason why we had to be in the room so early, was to like make sure all of the wires were set and plugged into the right places and they weren't tangled. We could actually like roll them out into class as soon as we had the room ready.
Whose
And
job
that
was
was
that? Was it
honestly,
you?
it was, yeah, it was me. And if anyone else showed up early, like me, Jeff, whoever else was early, we would just be like doing wires the whole time,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah,
Like, Jeff,
the
I don't know if there was anything else I'm forgetting, but like it sucked.
to to kind of explain the process with the wires, all of the cameras need to be plugged in to SDI connections or HDMI connections to a video switcher, and nowadays that's all done through the network, the internet in the building. So whereas the wires are kind of going like it's a power connection, and then they're connected to the internet, and then that's how you're able to connect. But before we had to literally like pull out these massive wires, like 100 footers, to get it from the very top of the room, go down and around, make sure it wouldn't like go in front of anybody's feet, or like nobody would be able to trip on it. So it was
Oh my
a lot of that happening at the very beginning of class. It was 15 minutes and we had so much setup to do. Now it's like Niche takes what, like 5-10 minutes by yourself if you have to. Like,
Wow. Wow. How
Yeah.
long, like, how long has it been at this peak? You know, for like a semester, 2 semesters, or 4 semesters? Or like how long were you unraveling wires and yeah,
I
just
think the whole time that I was an undergrad, we were dealing with wires. Like, actually, no. It was at least for 3, like, full years of, like, fall and spring together that we were dealing with wires, because that last year was all COVID, and we had to fully move our operation to Pond, and then we didn't have to deal with wires.
Yeah, it was
what
definitely
was
Well,
around.
I didn't,
It was
because
around
Jeff and Sam
COVID.
set that up over the summer.
It was around COVID time because when we came back, it was I think our last semester of using our old system, and then they
Mhm.
put in the new cameras in the room because they were using 100 Thomas, the classroom that Social 19 is in. They were using it as kind of like an experiment to see how other classrooms would do with this camera setup, with this tech. It was kind of like a trial. And so they were like, hey, we know this class uses it. Let's give it to them. And so now our like robo cameras were installed and everything. Sometime maybe 2022, 2023. So it's been at
Okay,
least like
so
what, two 2 years that we've had the
Yeah.
RoboCams.
that's nice. What
Going on
is there
3
any
at this point.
Going on 2 years.
is, that's cool. It's really like just to hear, and I wasn't here for COVID, you know, so I was kind of curious to see how that um was like changing operations, the world in conversation to Pond Lab. Was that tough? Or, you know, the whole
I mean,
transition?
the physical move, I had nothing to deal with because that was all Jeff and Sam over the summer.
It was a pain in the butt.
Really?
Oh yeah.
How so? What sucked about it?
So we had to move everything into 2 different rooms, um, because we wanted Sam to be able to be completely without a mask. And if you were in a room by yourself, that was possible. And then Niesh and I had to be super close by because she was the switcher and I was running everything on the cameras. I was running the green screen, the PowerPoints, stuff like that on my computer. So from
Mm.
one room, we're taking those old wires we were talking about, these massive wires, and I have to take them up, put them into the ceiling, go over into the hallway, where above the ceiling in the hallway, and then put them into the other room, and then bring them down. But I have to bring them down in a specific spot, and then it's a whole like it's just a pain whenever you have to work with ceilings, drop ceilings, and wires. So like if you were just an average person walking through Pond, you would have no idea that those 2 rooms have like it's like a 2 room studio setup because everything was hidden from public view. But like if you walked into the
Mm.
rooms, all of the wires are like going up, up into the ceiling at one point, but everything was off camera. And so Sam had 2 TV screens with him. He had the cameras, of course. He had a green screen that would be behind him. And then Nish and I would just be sitting on opposite sides of the room at our desks.
Mhm.
And that's how we operated for an entire year.
Wow. Okay. And was this a lot of trial and error, or did you immediately know to have 2 separate rooms and not have, you know, one whole room just dedicated to the product? You know, like,
It
does that
was
make sense?
Yeah, it was kind of like an early decision that I made that like we needed Sam to be without a mask for class, and so we knew like
Right.
somehow we have to get him connected to us.
Got it.
And we kind of throw some ideas. Maybe we'll just do like a Polycom unit, or maybe we'll just do a webcam. We were like, no, we have these cameras. We just have to actually do the work. It was actually my first ever job at WinC was putting a phone line from 107, our office, Elijah's office, and then all the way down to 104 because that's where Kat, who worked with programming, all WinC dialogues, that's where her office was. And so it was like, all right, this is my first job,
Shout
let's
out,
do
Kat.
it.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I'm wondering from so the solution, it all started from figuring out a way to make sure Sam can actually be visible and seen and heard when speaking. And so essentially the solution was kind of built out of that.
Yeah, it was
And
just
then
Sam can't have a mask
yep,
on during the live stream.
right, right. Can't be. Can't be mumbling. He'll be mumbling then.
Yeah.
basically, yeah.
Muzzled. Mm-hmm. And this is a random question I just brought up. Is there, so like his niche, you're a film major, and was there anything different or like what was the film major thinking, now that we're like moving from a classroom kind of vibe where you have a whole production, now it's Zoom. Is there anything from like a film perspective that you were thinking about from, or what's like the film scientist, niche the film scientist, like what were you thinking about that or was it more so just be in front of the Zoom camera? I
I
just don't know what goes
think
into that. Yeah.
no, that's a good question. I think because I just had to because I just technically had to be there. I didn't have to do much of setup besides like turning stuff off and on. I was like, "Oh my
Hmm.
gosh, this is so easy." The other part of that was that there was a camera in the room for me and a camera in the room for Jeff in case we wanted to add something, and that was the
Oh,
most
okay.
stressful part of it because I hate being on camera. Um, I like I pick up the camera so that I don't have to have pictures taken of me. I don't need to be like visible. Like that's my whole thing.
Right, right, right.
Um,
It's
that
cool.
was
Hmm.
that was the whole like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. Oh my god, I actually hate this. Because normally I don't have to be like visible.
Oh, because you were visible during the Zoom or during.
Yeah, basically like
God.
if like Jeff was like, hey, you should definitely like hop on the stream real quick and just add that in. I'd be like, oh my god, Jeff, are you serious? Why do I have to do this right now? Are you serious?
Do you guys ever bicker back and forth? Is it usually like, um, it's a I'm getting
There's not a lot
like
of
work.
bickering between me and Jeff, thankfully, because Jeff and I basically like share a brain. Like if I'm thinking something, he's usually thinking the same thing, if not before I'm actually thinking it. So it's
That's
not like,
cool.
oh my gosh, like we need to do it this way. It's always like, yeah, this needs to get done, and I'm gonna do it this way. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly how I would have done it too.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's definitely like a production brain that either people have or they don't have, and if you don't have it, then you might see us as bickering at one another, but we're not like
Hmm.
disagreeing or angry at one another. We're just literally like trying to figure out solutions to things, and we're talking very
Yeah.
quickly, and we're doing a shorthand, and so people who don't understand it, they're like, those people might be like angry, but
Right.
no, we're not.
I noticed when I would do film, when I would act for the film majors in college,
Yeah.
I loved that vibe. It was very like short, quick. No, like do this. No, we got to do this. Actually, wait, stand here. Wait, no, don't do that. Move. Go, like
Yeah. And like
very
even
fast
during
paced.
269 days, like you and I got into it a couple times because I was just in that production brain and I just was
Right.
not seeing what you were trying to say. Like it's one of the few times that we've actually argued and it
Hmm.
didn't even need to be an argument just because we didn't see what each other was talking about.
Right. No, for sure. And because you were like seeing things as, we need this for fluidity, you know?
Exactly.
And I was
Yeah,
like,
like, we
I
need
need
it
this
this
for
way for
research.
production. You're like, yeah,
Right.
you were like, what about the research part of it? And I was like, well, what about my cameras? And
Yeah, right. And
it
then
was
we
a mess
hug
for
at
like
the
a
end.
day.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. It made me want to ask you, about like, is there anything, have you developed like kind of an aesthetic or a science or what's the science behind, doing a whole live stream, and making it pretty? Because like when you look at it from YouTube, it looks so good. It's just when to pan to the audience, like those are all things thinking about, right? Like when do I pan to the audience? Like how long am I don't know all the questions that are involved, but that's one that I'm
No,
thinking
no, no.
of, you know?
This is a good thing. I will say most of the credit these days goes to the students that I teach and the fact that
Hmm.
they're actually like on it. Like I can fully leave the back room for like 10 minutes if I had to and go take care of
Mhm.
something else and the live stream is still going. It's still looking good. Um
Nice.
like they're
Wow.
pretty honed in on like Sam is talking about this, so we're gonna go here. Or like there's a there's a joke happening. Like go to the crowd, people are laughing. Or like Sam is talking
Yeah.
about this type of people. Can we see these types of people in the room? And they're pretty
Mm.
much on it at this point. Like self-sufficient. I'm gonna have a new crop of kids this fall, but it doesn't usually take that much to train someone on like what we need from the class. And we're always of the mindset of each class is basically like its own new episode of TV. So nothing feels like it might feel boring to them as they're doing it, which I think is a good thing. If you're feeling like you're bored when you're doing something, that means you know what you're doing. But
Ah,
it's not
right,
gonna feel
right,
boring to people watching.
right. That's so cool. So like, okay, now we're getting, you know, a kind of like we're getting some director niche, and now we're getting like niche as the teacher of the film and direction. What are things, that you say or um that's so interesting. Even right there, you're like,
Well, this is
if
all, like
something
remember,
yeah.
like, this is all the stuff that Jeff taught me too. So,
Mm-hmm.
this is,
Got it.
grandfathered down teachings to this new crop of kids. Um,
Right.
but in the
Right.
back room,
What
it's mostly just like, "Hey, I know you guys know what you're doing. Hey, maybe we should, like, go here. Like, do these cameras look the way that you want them to look?" Or even,
mhm.
like, "Hey, I know that this is about to happen, so make sure that you're ready. Is there like, I need to go talk to this camera. Are you guys good? Do you need anything?" And most of the
Right.
time, the answer is, "No, we don't need anything," or like, "Hey, can you remind me how to do this?" It's never like, "Oh my god, I don't know what to do and I need help."
Hmm. Can can you tell when something like isn't up to your director's eye or your vision, or like what are there ever times like after a class you're like, oh, that didn't hit the vision, or like throughout your career, like with Social 19, you're like building a vision of what you want to look like, or did it kind of always look like that? I guess I'm kind of curious on how are you, because it's an art, right? At the end of the day, like film, right?
Yeah.
Like you're in art, so how do you make it look like a masterpiece? What are some of those? I hope I'm not being repetitive with this question
No,
too. I
no,
think I'm
no.
just
I
trying to see
no, I
something.
like this question. I don't think I've ever considered it as a masterpiece. I feel like I've always
Okay.
considered it as like a work in progress and like every single class is different. Some students are like, "Oh my gosh, like I remember we did this, so I'm going to try it again," or like I'm going to try a completely different position and I just need you to go over this with like I'm always of the mindset of like, okay, something new is happening. Like when class is over, that class is fully over in my brain. I don't even like really think back to it unless Sam is specifically like, "No, this is a part 2 of this class." But even then,
Mm-hmm.
it's like when you're watching TV and you're, like, watching the different episodes of your shows,
Right.
every
Yeah, I'm
single
liking this.
episode
Yeah,
is
let's go.
yeah, it's like every single episode is slightly different. They might have, like, a theme in common, and that theme might just be that they're like, this is the same show, but every single episode has a start and a stop, and once
Uh-huh.
that class is over, that is the stop, and then
Got
we
it.
start fresh the next time. So even if,
So
during
interesting.
class this semester, like,
Like right.
in class, we do, like, these attendance codes, and we're not supposed to
Uh-huh.
put them on the screen. And every once in a while, Sam will just start blowing through slides and accidentally put something up, or, like, the camera will be positioned in a way that you can see the code, and it's just an automatic, like, "Oh my god, I messed up, oh my god," and I'm like, "It's fine. We're just gonna start again fresh. Don't even worry about it."
They start
Because
again
carrying
fresh
over
next
that,
time.
like, thought of yeah, every single time that we start a new class, we're starting over fresh because carrying over that expectation from the last class is a
Mm,
lot of, like, stress, it's a lot of anxiety, it's a lot of different feelings that can come from those students.
right.
So I like to try to make sure that they know, like, "Hey, you can try completely over, you can try something completely new. Or if you want to, you can try something that you tried last class and just try and perfect it." But it's never like, that's why I don't think it's a masterpiece.
Do you have like parameters of like what can be done experimentally and what can't be done experimentally? Or you're just like, go try it, whatever it is, But
I'm
like,
fully of the
how have
mindset
you
of,
built
like
that trust to know what they can do to experiment or what not to experiment?
well, building the trust, I've always said to I always say at the beginning of the semester, we always do a training session before the semester even starts. Because
Right.
once the first class starts, it's like you're going straight into the fire. But I always tell them when you're training, there's no such thing as a stupid question until I tell you that there until I tell you that question is stupid.
And try to say that was dumb. Yeah. Right.
Until I tell you that it's dumb, ask me questions. Like we shouldn't be on week like 10 of the semester and you're going, hey, how do I turn on the camera? That's a stupid question.
Right.
You know?
Where were you?
But I've always had the mindset of like, come and ask me something. If you're not sure, I'd much rather you ask than you try and you break something. Or you
Hmm.
try and you end up turning off the stream because you just don't know what's happening.
Right.
Like, I half the time don't know what's happening either. Let's figure it out together. And I'm always of
Mm.
the mindset of like, hey, you can try whatever you want to try. Like, you have complete like control over this. I'm just here to make sure that everything is still running. So if you
Now
want to
it's
try and put like Sam and a volunteer like half and half on the screen, go ahead, go for it. If you want to, as a camera operator, try a different type of shot that you don't know if it'll work, go ahead. We don't have to take your camera if it ends up not looking right. But you
mm.
always have that like wiggle room to make sure that like you can try something new.
And that's like for the recording, right? Because when it's live, like that's just what shows up. But if it's a recording, that's when you guys can like change the camera l- angle and stuff. Like you can edit it.
Well,
But when
one
it's
what you guys get on the recording is basically what happened in the room. Like we don't have any other saved camera angles to add into the class.
wait, then
Like
how can
once
they like
class
let's say it's a camera angle that wasn't good, you're saying. You said that you don't have to use it. How is that the case then?
so that would like just backtrack your mind then to like when we're in the back room because remember there are operator students and then there are
Got it.
director students. So the director students in the back can see every single camera angle and they can talk to the camera operators during class. And if they see that a camera operator is trying a different move, they can say, "Oh my gosh, I love that. I'm going to take your camera." Or, "I don't think that that's working the way that you think. Let's try something different."
That's really cool. So there's live feedback throughout the whole entire from like
Exactly.
the back room and the camera people saying where to go, what looks good, this is nice, do that again.
Yeah. The
Get these
camera
people.
operators, I tell them to sell shots because we don't know what's happening in the classroom unless they point at it or they do something interesting.
You tell
So,
them to sell shots. What does that mean
yeah,
for you?
because there's
What does that mean?
So
Because
selling shots basically means like there's 7 cameras that we have in the room currently, like not counting what's happening on the podium. So you're against what 6 other different angles of the room. If you want to be taken, like you want people to see the shot that you're making, make it so interesting that we're like, oh my gosh, yes, that's perfect. Like if you want to do something experimental.
I
So
love
selling
that.
the shot is basically like make us be interested in what you're looking at too.
Yeah. And then they're like, ooh, they're passionate, they're into it, they're trying to get the best shot. Wait, so like, does not everybody's shot go up on the screen? Like, it's really who has the best shot, unless it's like Sam talking, obviously that's the shot, but if
Yeah, and
not, you
even
guys will
then,
pick
like
what's the best
sometimes
angle.
yeah, we'll pick the best angle, and even sometimes when Sam is talking, like, it's not always a given of what camera we're gonna go to get him talking at the best angle. And we're
Mm.
always I tell my directors that part of the job is that you just have to talk, and you have to be, like, thinking out loud.
For the
So
camera
they're
holders
always
or
like
the
actor in the back. They're always looking at the
projectors in the
different
back?
angles. They're always listening to class, and they're always like, "Okay, well, Blue has this angle, but like we're not quite at that volunteer yet, so I think I'm gonna go to Sam. Yellow, could you like shift your camera a little bit so we can see Sam better? Perfect. We're gonna take yellow. Next, I think I'm gonna go to green so we can see someone talking in the front of the room. But like, oh wait, no, 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 no. There's laughing. There's laughing. Go to this camera instead. And there's always that like talking behind the scenes, or there always should be. I
Wow.
like
So
Jeff has been the mindset of when we've been in charge of this class of like if it's completely silent, that's not good.
in the back.
Yeah, if it's completely silent in the
Yeah.
back room and there's no communication, no one knows what's happening, like there has to be communication.
Wow, that is so cool. So it's always chat. It's got to be chatty back there.
Exactly.
Well, one
Yeah,
of
and
the
if not,
directors is supposed to be telling people when they're like live, you're going live, you're prepared to go live, all that kind of stuff. hypothetically that person should be speaking every 6 to 8 seconds, because that's how often we want to be switching the cameras. Maybe not that frequently. That's how Sam would like it to
Yeah.
be in a perfect world, but you want it to be a little bit slower with a college class. But still, that's the idea. Is like there's not a ton of time that you can just like allow the shot to continue. You have to be moving on to other things. Um,
Wow. So you constantly need new frames.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's so because without it, then what do you as producers and directors fear?
Well, the fear is always that people are going to get bored watching the stream. It's like think
right.
back to whatever show that you're watching currently, whether it's live or pre-recorded. Some like most shots are moving every like 4 to 6 or every 6 to 8 seconds. So that your brain is always like, oh, there's something happening over on that side of the room. That's what we're seeing. Oh no, someone's talking over here. And you're not just like watching one angle.
Yeah. That is so cool. What's the intention behind like sometimes I'll see shots go to a person who's looking at their phone or the person who's like sometimes the person that might be asleep or or then you'll get like
Which
really interested.
I've told them before, you should not be putting people who are asleep on the stream. But the thought behind that would be to take a break from like this really intense conversation, and this is how the other students in the room are reacting at this moment.
Oh,
Be it
okay.
like we can see from our end, like this student is, like, looking up whatever word was just said on their phone, or like this girl's leaning over to her friend to talk about something that's happening in class right now, or people are
Uh-huh.
laughing at a joke that a volunteer just said, or like Sam is running up the stairs to like go and talk to the person who has a question. The crowd
Right.
shots are there as just like a small mental break so that you're not just like, oh yeah, this is a class. And then it's also there to remind people that this is still a class happening at a university. Like it's not just a fun thing. Like there are students that are here taking this class for credit.
Right, and it's like live, it's active,
Yeah,
it's alive, you know? Like it
Sometimes
exactly.
it lets
There's bodies in the seats. There are people that are here paying attention.
and sometimes it's really hard because you'll have like moments where students are, this student's looking very studious or whatever, and so the camera operator gets them in the shot, and the director sees it, they take it, and then the person on the stream is like, okay, but two people behind them is literally like open mouth sleeping, and so like there's things that you sometimes just can't catch. Um, so that's another
Mm.
another issue that comes about sometimes is like like we're only
Ye-
we're only human, we're only so perfect, and some people fall asleep in class.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Honestly, the
And-
most common complaint that I've had from the stream team students is that there are people just asleep or people on their phones. And I'm like, well, you have to be creative then, don't you?
yeah, well, ooh, so okay, so creative. Like what when they say that, what comes to mind when you think about creative? With Does
Well,
that make sense? This
yeah,
is
I
cool. I
think
feel like we're
like
getting into the science of this and the real psychology behind, like what
yeah,
some film directors are thinking for the psychology of the audience, right? Who's this, which
yeah.
is kind of really
So
interesting.
the first thought that always comes to the person's head when they're on camera and like, oh, these people are asleep or these people are not paying attention is to move and find a different set of people. Then the thought after that is, oh, well, can I just get a motion shot to just show how many people are in class? Or, oh, is there a different thing happening in class right now that could also use attention? Like, Sam usually just has people sitting down the front of the room talking about whatever they're talking about for the day. But then sometimes he has like people off at a separate table listening to what's happening. Like, one semester he had students just eating food off in the corner as like a mukbang situation and
As a
like
what?
getting shots of that mukbang like
What's that?
when people are like so when people are just eating a bunch of food and just like talking about whatever's happening. So like some people like
You're in
watch and
class?
react to videos while they're eating. Some
Muck,
people are just like talking about their day. It's a whole thing.
do you know what ASMR
Wait.
is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So ASMR is similar-ish, and it's another genre on YouTube as mukbang is. And mukbang is pretty much just people socially eating with a community. So you join a live stream or you watch a previous live stream or a video that somebody records of them eating.
Is that the one that you showed Sam and I, Jeff? Of the one, I think it was a Korean girl,
I think so. Yeah.
and she was eating, I forget what she was eating, but
But a
there was a
ton of
lot of food.
sushi, like a ton of food. Yeah, that's kind of it's the same genre. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Wait, and so what was Sam's intention for that? That is hilarious. Did it relate to the class, or like, I want to try that for the stream? And
It
people
did
were
relate to the class, but I can't remember what the class was about at this moment.
right. But okay, and so what food was there? Do you remember? Was it like real food or were they just snacks? And was it a table set
I
up?
I'm gonna be so real with you, and this is
You
like
don't
a
remember?
true look behind the scenes. I
Yeah,
don't pay attention to class when I am physically in class because there's
true. That
usually
makes
so much
sense.
happening that I can't just like sit and like listen to whatever Sam is talking about.
Right.
So I could
Okay,
not
but
tell you what people were eating. I couldn't tell you what the topic of the class was. Like,
right, right. Because you're so honed in on like the intricacies in order to make that
exactly.
happen. Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
not only am I like producing this live stream, but I'm also taking care of the TAs that are in the room. If a student has a question, um, if Julie needs to talk to Sam in the middle of class and for whatever reason no one is in the Discord listening, or like if there's ever like an issue, like I'm that person physically in class doing all this other stuff, and I can't always be paying attention to Sam.
Right. Um, so many things I'm thinking about right now in terms of questions. Let's innovate. Oh, manual. Do you like this is like pretty consistent, teaching, like in terms of like teaching. Well, just to close that loop, that mukbang thing was a creative addition to the class to like see how this, add to the, just the interest of the class.
I would think so. I wish I could remember what this class was about, period.
No, okay, got it. So I'm curious, like, what are there any things and are there any things that like you and Jeff talk about in terms of like innovation for the class to continue to enhance it? I know you're always thinking about that, but I wonder if there's any new things. Like for example, like one of them being, I don't know how long you've all been doing this, but people posting the questions from the live stream, and then that being posted on the screen and then Sam answering that question. Or you ever thought about like having a live caller? Or like are there
Well,
any
we've
things that like
wanted
are on
to
the
do that for a
horizon?
while. Yeah, I would say though that I'm not so much innovation as I am of reining Sam in during class. Like
What does that look like? Yeah.
Jeff is mostly a person who comes up with like these innovative things, and I'm usually the person that's like, okay, in reality, I'm not sure how that's gonna work. Of like at one point, like there's a
Ah.
screen in the front of Thomas that Sam was like, oh, we should have the comments up on. And then at a certain point, I was like, we just can't keep doing this. One, because the volunteers being able to see comments that aren't always nice, not a good idea. And
Mm.
two, I kept tripping over the HDMI cords and breaking them, and I didn't want to fall on my face.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's definitely an
So I'm
issue
Okay.
that
usually the person that's like the voice of like, mom says no, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah, yup, similar. That's what I was kind of thinking.
I
And
mean,
and so it's like,
it's extremely useful because of the fact that like I know one of the people that I rush to whenever I have an idea. I go to Lori, I go to Sam, but I'm also going to Niche because, like we talked about earlier, we have that production brain where we can both look at each other and we know exactly what we're thinking. But more
right.
importantly, I can shoot over ideas and she'd be like, "No, that's really stupid," or "Yeah, I think that would work really well." Um,
And then for
I
you,
don't think
like,
I've ever thought the idea of you're stupid.
all of my ideas are stupid.
that's dumb, Jeff. Get out of here.
Or more
I'm
so
braining
that they
salmon right now.
or more
Yeah.
so like hey, I don't really know how to do that, or hey, we've never tried this before. What are the things that I'm not thinking about? And Niesh is one of the people that is able to think about the things that I'm missing. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And it sounds like it's a really good filtration for you. You
yeah,
know, like with all the ideas that you can have, I'm sure you can have just tons of ideas, and then you just throw those at Niche, and then she helps you sort through those in a way.
Pretty much.
exactly.
That's
I'm
really
usually the
cool.
person that's like, Jeff at one point was like, "Oh well, why don't we do? What were you trying to get us to do? I think you were like, oh, well, why don't we do this type of like picture in picture on the screen, or like why is it so much to like switch in between?" And I was like, "Oh well, you have to remember that we have to do 15 different steps to get to that point." And he was like, "Oh no, you're so right, actually."
And
So
say,
I'm
all
always
right.
the person for him that will like, "Hey, this is what like I love what you want the end result to be, but this is the actual process of how we get there. If we can actually like hone that down, perfect. But I don't know how that's gonna work."
Was that always just like an attribute that you contributed, or was that something that you developed, or were you just always looking at things that way? Were you just you kind of embody you just started to embody that role of being, you know, like the practical, reasonable voice, like
I
the voice
think
of
when Jeff
reason,
and
it
I
sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think when Jeff and I more started becoming partners, like when I actually started working for Sam in 119, that's when I was more the voice of reason instead of just
Mm,
like, "Oh yeah, like let's try it." It was more of like, "Hey, like I'm actually a part of getting this all set up. So I think I need to have a bigger voice of like what I can and can't actually do and what my
right.
limitations are, because I would love to fly as close to the sun as humanly possible. But we have to remember that our wings are made of wax, and if we fly too high, we will fall.
Oh wow, where did you come up with this, poet? Okay.
Well,
I like
as
that.
a mythology nerd, I just love to think about stuff like that.
That was cool. I love that analogy. Yeah, that makes so much sense. So it all started really of just like, figuring out where your own parameters are and realizing like, you know, I'm tasked with all this. I need to help others see where my parameters are and like voice this. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Exactly.
That's
These
so
are the
cool.
limitations that I'm aware of. This is what we can do with these limitations. And Jeff is always the person that wants to challenge the limitations. And a lot of the times it works and it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's like a yin and a yang
Exactly.
with the two of you. Wow, that's really cool. I was also curious. Wait, Jeff, you're on mute. Did you have anything to say? I just want to make sure.
No, just here chilling.
Okay, cool.
I realize I
Bet.
effed up my factory.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was so funny. I remember I put that on and cuz I'm just staring at the Discord, so I don't really see what's going on. Um but like when I put it on the YouTube, I was like this is so cool just watching you. Like it's just such a good mix, you know? Like hearing the interview and then watching you create your empire. It's pretty cool. Um, but I was also wondering, like, Niche, with all of this information that you have, like tips on tricks on, what are innovative ways that we continue to be more creative when the students are, oh, someone's yawning. Oh, well, you could pan somewhere else, or you could, like, do you have a manual created, or like, do you have documentation of, or is this all coming from, just your, what you know? But do you have this anywhere for like, to ease
I
yourself with knowledge and then also students or
So it's a mix of both. Um like I said at the beginning of the semester, we have that training session before the semester actually starts.
right.
Um and I go through the list of like what do the students need to know to operate a camera, to work this what is the word? To work this software to direct the stream. And then we let them loose for like 10-ish minutes to be like, hey, just play around with the cameras, get comfortable. Um, Teach them the words that they need to know so that like they can communicate what's going on, like what people like want from them. And I'm pretty much
Mm.
just of the mind of like, hey, in this situation, I used to do this, or like when this happens, you usually want to do this. And after that, it's a like once we leave that training session and they come for the first day, it's pretty much throw you into the deep end. Here's all of the tools that you will need to flow. And this is like you're gonna get better over the semester. First class is always the hardest class,
Mhm.
but this is what you're working with pretty much the whole time.
What kind of obstacles do you notice they face, like in the first class? Like, what makes it so hard? Because man, it sounds like you just have the reins. Um,
I think when I think the first class, people are usually worried about like, oh, what's Sam about to do? What's happening? How do I actually like move the camera and not knock it over? Like it's usually the thought of I don't want to break anything and I want to make sure I'm keeping up.
mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Do everything right, be careful, and yeah, keep the process
Yeah,
moving.
because I
Okay.
always tell this story, like, when I first actually started, like, helping Jeff, we had a camera break in the middle of class, and I'm always like, "Hey, it's okay if something happens, but don't let it be on purpose, and don't let it be because you're doing something stupid."
Mm, like r on purpose, as in like don't make it be on purpose. Like, a
Like,
mistake.
don't set up your camera in, like, a ridiculous way of, like, "I'm gonna set my camera up halfway between 2 stairs so I can get the best angle." It's like, your camera needs to be on flat ground, otherwise it
Got
will
it.
fall and it will break, it's fragile.
Right, right, right. Okay,
Like, don't do
got it.
anything stupid.
And these are some like rookie moves that people could be doing because they wanna like they're really trying. They're like, oh, I want to do the best of the best, but
Yeah, they're
sometimes
and
you
that's
can
the best
overdo
part
it.
about the class is that they're all genuinely trying. It's not that they're just like, "Ugh, I don't wanna be here," because if they don't wanna be there, then they wouldn't have put in the
Right.
application, they wouldn't have gone through this whole thing, and we would have talked about it before they even got to that point.
Wow, that's so cool. Cause like, what other opportunity besides like actually, because some film majors have like PSN TV. I remember when I was a student, there was like PSN Network,
Mhm.
or you can actually get involved with this kind of work, but it's directly in the film area. But there's not many opportunities to do film stuff outside of like the film areas, right? This is like pretty unique for like a
Yeah,
class to
pretty
be able to
much.
do this.
Like, there are gigs that you can do like, you can go to the career office in the comm building and, like, "I wanna do XYZ," but a lot of the time, like, when you're first starting out as a film major, you don't even take really any, like, hands-on classes that first semester or 2.
Hmm.
Like, you might take a basic class, I think your 2nd semester of, like, this is how you work a camera, but you don't really get hands-on experience too quickly into, too quickly into your college career.
Right,
Whereas, like, the very first time you walk into the room and I'm teaching you, I'm handing you a camera and telling you good luck.
right. Wow. So this is really unique. And so the that's cool. And so students, and you get most of your students from the actual class, the people that volunteer.
Exactly, yeah. So, we usually towards the middle of the semester, we'll put up a slide of like, "Hey, if you're interested in what you're seeing around the classroom, like, fill out this application. You don't need to know anything about a camera because I'm teaching people from the very first time that I see them. This is
Yeah.
what a camera is."
Wow. It that's cool. Wow, man, it's really awesome to get the behind the scenes to this detail of the class. And I'm kind of pivoting to just again, just want to check on Jeff. Is there anything that I'm missing or that that could be a question for Niesh about the class I'm just not seeing? I just want to make sure.
I don't think so. It, it's just this is a process that's continuously changing, so I'm excited
Yeah.
for like in a year or two to hear back to this conversation and oh we do the stream completely differently or oh the stream's kind of the same but these are the things that we've changed and that kind of stuff happens constantly.
Yeah.
Like it
That,
seems like every 2 or 3 years, Niche and I are completely having to like rethink like how we're going to do half of the class. It's like
Exactly.
that's what I asked Nish this a little bit too, but I also want to ask you, is there anything that you see like on the horizon for this class, like technologically or film wise or the way just because I know you're always ahead of the I feel like you're always ahead of the in some way, thinking
um,
about like the idea guy, you know?
we've been working a lot with like other languages and like auto dubbing and closed captioning and those types of things to try to get more of an international audience. Um,
Got it.
but I'm not exactly sure like of any like grand ideas that we have right now just because it's the beginning of the summer and I'm
Yep.
currently like my mind is 100% on the summer course and preparing for the next fall. But ask me in like a week or two. I'll try and think when it's my turn to be interviewed fully. I'll try and think of a
Gotcha.
couple of
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah. No, for sure. Because I feel like there's always something, and because just whenever that's one thing I've gotten from you is like every time there's like, oh, I'm doing this, or oh, I'm doing this now, or there's this new thing. It's like, oh shoot, always ahead of the game. But I kind of want to pivot back niche to just is this kind of what you thought maybe stepping outside from the class a little bit and a little bit more into you know just your world? Did you see this as when you decided to major in film, did you see this as the thing that you'd be doing? And if not, what did you envision for yourself for film?
I think when I envisioned what I was going to be doing post grad, I either saw myself in New York, LA, or back in Philly and like doing something there. Like for a couple months after I graduated, like the next fall semester after, I was back working part time. But I was also working part time in Philly because the first people who actually taught me how to use cameras was the public radio station WHYY, like the PBS station in Philly. I was working
Really?
with them to basically like work with the program that brought me the cameras to my high school and like
Yeah.
teaching other like elementary and high school age students how to use cameras too.
God, so that's
And I
how it
thought that maybe
started.
I would continue to do something like that. Yeah.
And is that similar
Yeah.
thing? Like you're behind the scenes, like kind of just like Social
Yeah.
19, trying to get the right angle, you know, make it interesting for the audience.
Exactly. Yeah. Even though I will
Got it.
say like the program that I learned from was more journalistic and like documentary, but it was
Mm.
pretty much always like this is how you work a camera, this is how you work I first learned editing on Final Cut Pro, which I still hate editing to this day, but Final Cut Pro is all right, I guess.
Mm. Got it. This is cool. So earlier in the conversation, you were saying Social 19, their production strategy is more TV, but is that same
Yeah.
as and over there? You're saying it was more journalistic and documentary. So
Yeah.
you
Like
see
we're teaching
specific
students how to
differences.
put together like a news package.
Uh, And it wasn't live, but it was like this. It's supposed to be this hour-long finished product full
Not
of.
even hour long most of the time. It was like when you're watching the news and you see like we're going to so and so in the field and then they introduce what you're about to see and you just see the pre-recorded stuff. Like that's the stuff that we are teaching kids how to do. Like in middle
God.
school and high school and they were pretty good at it.
Wow. Okay. Got it. So, yep. Okay, that makes sense. And so from there, d- did you see yourself doing more of like TV type of stuff? Like when you envision yourself in LA, New York, or Philly? Or what was kind of the vibe for you that you envisioned?
I think the vibe was more like movie and film, not TV.
Got it.
I
So
think
yeah,
just
we
because
still have to.
that's what I was trained in. Was like when I was in undergrad, I was trained in like how to do like cinematography and niche.
Did you ever
And
do
like
short films in undergrad?
I did, but they're not my favorite things because I'm not the best writer.
Uh-huh.
So the stuff that I would write would be, in my opinion, trash. Um, but when I was filming for other people, that's when I was really like getting into my groove.
Okay, when you like didn't have to focus on the things that you didn't really care about as much.
It's not even
Like
that I
you
didn't care as
not you
much, it's
care
that
about it,
I
but it
didn't.
wasn't like your it's not your
Yeah,
didn't pull you. Not care. I know
yeah,
you
like
wanted to care for it, not careless, but just that's not where your passion lied.
exactly. Like my passion was not script writing, and I don't
Right.
think I was very good at it. My passion was
Right.
always like, "Oh, this is what the script says. How can we get this and make it look as amazing as I can see it in my head?"
So immediately you read the script and you see a storyboard
Yeah,
in a way.
pretty much.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. I want to see those. Do you have them?
Some of my old storyboards,
No,
maybe
not
somewhere in like a
storyboards,
Google
but your
Drive.
old films.
There's somewhere. My senior film never got finished, so I don't even have that. But I have a
Uh-huh.
couple of different like little projects here and there that I could try and find.
I would
My
love to see
one
that.
my one friend that I worked with for her film, it was called Sunflower. She took it to a couple different film festivals. My
Mm-hmm.
favorite project to date to have worked on.
Ooh. And so you have that one?
That one's linked on one of my YouTubes. I have like 3 different ones.
Oh, let's go. Okay.
So I'll find
Ooh,
that and I'll send that to you so you can watch it if you want.
yeah.
But
We really got to do those music videos.
I
I'm seeing
listen,
that.
I've just been like week after week has just been something completely different that I've been like, "Oh my gosh, like I need to just sit down and just like listen and write out what I'm seeing for this music that you're giving me." Because I have like I get vibes and I like see what I want to put like into a video. I just need to write it down and we need to talk about it.
I didn't even know you thought through it like that. I didn't even know you were thinking about that. Like I knew because it just felt like an idea up in the air, but it's cool to hear that you're like, oh man, I actually kind of saw a little vision for something. That's kind of dope. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, usually like even when I'm listening to just, like, music on the radio, if I haven't seen a
Mhm.
music video for it, I'm usually thinking like, "Well, how would I have put this into a video? What story am I getting told right now?"
Right, right. So
Like, I
that
love
would
it when
be
someone else gives me a story that I can try and visualize on my own.
like so the lyrics, right? The lyrics is the story, and then you're like, okay, now I'm gonna build it out.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's super cool. I would experience that all the time with my friend Chris. He was an amazing cinematographer, and I would just give him my thing, and he would like go off, and just go crazy on it with his ideas and just
Pretty
follow
much, yeah.
those. See the vision. That's really,
My
really
only
cool.
downfall is that it takes me, like, 10 years to edit something together because I hate editing with such a passion.
Editing is tough. It is not easy. hmm Yeah, editing is wow. So maybe yeah, we'll have to do a little music video or have like a whirling conversation. You know how like
Oh my
like the Full House like intro video? It's like
Oh,
the
yeah, yeah,
theme
yeah.
song and
I
then
know
like
exactly what you're talking about.
we should do that for whirling conversation. Like where we pan to DJ's office and she like waves and then under it it's like DJ. You know? Or like, I think that could be a nice film project for us. But yeah, I think how you feeling on time, Jeff? I'm thinking, trying to think of some more stuff. I feel like I got so much out of you, Niche. This is so cool to hear about the in-depth behind the scenes of Social 19. Hear about. Oh, we could also like get into like, was film always your passion from the time you were young? I know I just transitioned, but I was like trying to uh, gas up and think about a little more of just where I was gonna go in the
Yeah.
combo. But we didn't really get into your childhood or like if this where this passion originated.
Oh, we're like going therapy deep back to my childhood. So I was
Yeah.
I was born on a cold winter morning. No, when I was little, like I used to just love watching TV, but it wasn't my immediate like, oh my gosh, like this is my passion. I think because I do love to like cook and I like to bake, I thought that I maybe want to do that instead. Then
Really?
when I got to high school and I like got into that program with WHYY and I like started working with cameras, I was like, no, this is it.
So, but what got you into working with cameras? Like did you choose that or were you just required to take that class?
No, it was a totally like voluntary after school thing. And I was like, this seems pretty cool. And like working with an actual news cast or people who work in this genre of work seems pretty interesting. When I actually started learning how to use the cameras that they let us use, I was like, this is so fun actually. Why haven't I
Oh,
been doing this for longer?
wow. So it was a passion that just kind of erupted in the moment.
Pretty much, yeah.
But before this, that was never on your radar?
Not really, no. I thought for the hottest of seconds when I was young, I was like, I could be an actress. And then I discovered that I
Hmm.
hate being on camera and went, that is not a dream I can have anymore.
Got it. And so it's more so like being a chef or a baker after like cooking?
I thought for a second that I was going to go to culinary school.
Hmm.
And then
That's
I got
cool.
into, because I love watching other people cook. I love trying my hand at new recipes. I love baking, decorating cakes. Like I thought that I would love doing that as a job. And then I got into high school. I started with like video like I started the first video club at my high school. I'm not sure if it's still there, but like I was that passionate about it.
Your first video club?
Like the video club that's at my high school now, if it's still there, is the club that I started.
Wow. Well, okay, wait, hold on. So it wasn't just before that moment at DWI. What did you say? DWI?
WHYY.
WHYY. So it wasn't
Yeah.
just that. It was before that. Because you created a whole club.
It was from the equipment that they left with us that I created that club. So my
Got it.
freshman year of high school was when they came and they called it a flash media lab.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a whole short documentary. And the next semester, they're like, hey, you guys can keep this equipment. And the teacher that was the sponsor for that club at the time was like, hey, why don't we do this with more students since we have the equipment? And we started our own video club from there.
That's awesome. Okay, and from there, that's when you were really experimenting. What did you do in the video
Exactly.
club?
We filmed a lot of the school events, like keeping an archive of stuff. Some girls wanted, I went to an all girls high school, so some of the
Got it.
girls were like, hey, why don't we like try and make our own videos and learn how to edit on our own too? So we entered a couple of different, like, there's this event in Philly called National History Day that we tried doing
Hmm.
projects for and just doing
Hmm.
a bunch of fun stuff like that.
Got it. Okay, okay, okay. And then and then from there, you went on to Penn State and then majored in film.
Yeah. It was either between Penn State or Drexel, to be completely honest. And my my advisor at the time, or my guidance counselor at the time, I was only going to apply to Penn State and Drexel, was like, hey, you have to apply to more than two schools. Like
Oh, wait,
I'm
your mom said
making this
that?
no, my guidance counselor at the time, because I was only going to apply to Penn State and Drexel, and I got into both. But she looked at me and went, I understand how confident you are. I need you to apply to at least three more schools.
Got it. Okay, and then that's when you added Penn State. and a few others.
Well, no, I started with Penn State and Drexel, and then I added, I think, um, there's a girls' school connected to Columbia University in New York. There's another university closer to Philly, and another school I can't think of right now.
Mm. What
I
was
was
it?
like,
What
if
was
I
it
have
like
to add
being?
to this, oh, no, I was
What
gonna
was it like?
say, if I have
Oh,
to
go
add to
ahead. Go
this
ahead.
application, then I'm just gonna add these three schools I don't really care about.
Right. But what was it like just being in a an all girls school for you? I'm sure I know you
I
can't
genuinely,
compare it, but what was it
no,
like?
I don't really, it didn't really feel like much of a difference to me from just like going to a normal like girls and guys school.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone was pretty much chilled. Like there was such a diversity of like who each individual girl was that I was just
Right.
genuinely like, oh, well, I'm just at a normal school. It didn't feel
Right.
like any particular way.
Was it always, were you always in an all girls school, or was it co-ed at one point and then high school ended up being all girls?
So my high school, I went to the Philadelphia High School for Girls, where I think the second longest single gender, like running single gender school on the East Coast. I think.
Wow.
I could be wrong. It
So
started
there's
off as
deep
like the
history
girls'
there. Oh
normal school and like it had, yeah, it has a deep history. It's older than Penn State actually, my high school.
my gosh, that's like so that's like 18 something,
18
right?
something. I can't think of the exact year that it was started.
Wow. And that's what you said, high school or girls' school? So
Mhm.
middle school,
High school. Middle school,
high
I went
school,
to a charter school.
which was co-ed.
Mhm.
Got it. And you didn't notice difference from like going from being the charter school um to the all girls school.
I mean, I noticed a difference of like, oh my gosh, it's all girls. I feel so comfortable here. But it wasn't like, oh my gosh, there's no guys. What am I gonna do?
So it was actually a sense of like, oh, I feel safer. I feel comfortable, more
Yeah.
comfortable.
Because when I
That's
was in
cool.
elementary, like I went to that charter school for all of elementary school, like second grade all the way up until eighth grade, like elementary school to middle school, that was all that same school. And the
Yep.
biggest bullies I had at that school were guys.
Right.
So
Right.
when I was like looking at the different high schools I could go to, and a lot of my teachers had went to girls high when they were younger and were
Mhm.
like, "Oh my gosh, yes, you would be perfect there." I was like, "Sign me up. Perfect."
Right. Man, kids are so mean in elementary school. I feel like I remember there being bullies in my high school too, you
Yeah.
know?
'Cause I was always
Yeah.
a bigger
Also
kid, so
males. Also
people didn't
males.
like me.
Interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Wow, okay. All girls. And then I look at you now, leading,
Look at me now.
teaching, a visionary, a co-brain
Oh
with
my gosh,
Jeff.
stop. No, keep going.
Man, it was a pleasure to like I've because we're close and I know you really well, and but to again like this opportunity to really get in detail with all the staff members here that work at WinC and Social 19, it's special just because I learned so much more stream, and hopefully the stream did too, just about this like everything that goes into creating a masterpiece that you guys have created at Social 19 and the live stream that's been so successful. Um, wow, there's so much that goes behind that.
And maybe now when people see me walking in and out of the back room, they're not just like, "Who's that random girl walking back and forth and looking upset?"
Right, they'll be like, that's the me, actually, to you.
Niche to you.
All right. We ended a little early, about 5 minutes.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah, for
good.
sure.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for
Oof.
listening. We will be back next week. I'm not sure when, and I'm not sure if it'll be my interview or Jamie's or there was an interview. Oh gosh, this is probably 2017 or 2018 when World in Conversation kind of went through this project where we put together a podcast and kind of talked about the work and the things that we did, and how World of Conversation became the institution it is today. And so maybe we'll have part of that conversation, um, when Elijah and I are chatting, or potentially
Yep.
Elijah, I might take one of my favorite classes to date, and we might just kind of break it down and talk about it.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be fun.
That'd be
I like
really
these
fun.
ideas, Jeff. Let's go.
Maybe we'll do a Q&A with the Discord community. The problem is we're not Sam, so like, you know.
I mean, cool. I
But do
mean,
we really
I'll
need
help with that, but you
Sam?
can give the answers, bro.
I could try to give the answers. That's the problem. But I guess that's
Yeah,
what
I don't
Sam
know.
does.
I'll be your Google or something. I'll look up stuff because I don't know if I'm not ready to give answers.
Same.
Yeah, this is great though. Thanks everybody for listening. And
Yeah. Thanks for joining us,
yeah,
everybody.
and
Yeah,
be
be
well.
safe, be kind, all that jazz.